The fluorescent lights burned. Everything was white. Claire's hand moved to her stomach. Flat, empty. Her baby was gone. But this isn't just another tragic story. This is about what happened when a millionaire thought his money could buy silence. When he thought pushing his pregnant wife down the stairs would be called an accident. When he underestimated one thing. Her father, William Hutchinson, spent 30 years putting criminals behind bars. He knew every trick, every loophole, every way powerful men escaped justice. And when the legal system failed his daughter, when Marcus Ashford walked out of that police station smiling, Bill decided something. The rules had just changed. What happened next shocked the entire country. A systematic takedown so complete, so devastating, that a $200 million empire crumbled in weeks. 5 women broke their silence. A mother testified against her own son. And one baby who never took a breath changed everything. This is the story of Emma Rose, of justice delayed but not denied, of a father's revenge that saved countless lives, and of a woman who lost everything but found the strength to fight back. If you've ever wondered whether the truth can win against money and power, stay until the end, because this story proves it can. Before we begin, if stories like this matter to you, hit that like button. It helps us reach more people who need to hear this. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss a story that might change someone's life. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is listen, and share, and believe. Now, let's talk about the night everything broke. The fluorescent lights burned. Everything was white. Too white. Claire's hand moved to her stomach before her eyes fully opened. Flat, empty. The monitor beeped. Steady, rhythmic, clinical. She tried to sit up. Pain shot through her spine, her ribs, her head. Claire gasped and fell back against the pillow. The sheets were rough, hospital sheets. That antiseptic smell filled her nose. Sharp, chemical, wrong. Mrs. Ashford? A woman's voice, soft, careful. Claire turned her head. Too fast. The room spun. A nurse stood beside the bed. Young, maybe 30. Her eyes held something Claire couldn't name. Pity, fear, both. Where's my baby? Claire's voice cracked. Dry throat. How long had she been here? The nurse's face changed. She looked away. Let me get the doctor. Where's my baby? Claire said again. Wooed her now, her hand rest against her belly. Flat. So flat. I was 8 months pregnant. Where is she? The nurse backed toward the door. Dr. Brennan will be right in. Claire tried to stand. Her legs wouldn't work. The IV line pulled tight. She looked down at her arms. Bruises, dark purple, yellow around the edges. Both wrists, her forearms. She didn't remember those. The door opened. A man in a white coat, gray hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mrs. Ashford, I'm Dr. Samuel Brennan. He pulled a chair close to the bed, sat down slowly. You've been unconscious for 18 hours. My baby. Claire couldn't say anything else. The words stuck in her throat. Dr. Brennan took a deep breath. I'm very sorry. We couldn't save her. The trauma to your abdomen, the fall. By the time the ambulance arrived, there was no heartbeat. The room tilted. Claire felt herself falling even though she was already lying down. No, that's not right. She was kicking before. She was kicking so hard. I know this is devastating. Dr. Brennan's voice was gentle, professional, but his eyes were sad. Really sad. We did everything we could. Claire's hands shook. She smoothed the blanket over and over. The fabric bunched under her palms. She flattened it. It bunched again. She kept smoothing, had to keep smoothing. If she stopped, she'd have to think. If she thought, this would be real. Mrs. Ashford, there's a detective here who needs to speak with you. Dr. Brennan glanced at the door. This wasn't just a medical emergency. We documented your injuries. This is an assault investigation. Assault? The word sounded foreign. Wrong. Your injuries are consistent with physical violence. Multiple contusions, fractured ribs, severe head trauma, internal bleeding. Dr. Brennan spoke carefully, each word chosen. We're required to report this. The door opened again. A woman in a dark blazer, badge clipped to her belt. Detective Laura Whitmore. She introduced herself, asked if Claire felt strong enough to answer questions. Claire nodded. She didn't feel strong. She didn't feel anything, just that need to keep smoothing the blanket, keep her hands moving, keep breathing. Can you tell me what happened last night? Detective Whitmore pulled out a notebook, pen poised. Last night. Claire tried to remember. Pieces, fragments, Marcus yelling, his mother's voice, the stairs. Oh God, the stairs. I fell. The words came automatically. That's what she was supposed to say, wasn't it? Down the stairs. I fell. Detective Whitmore's pen stopped moving. She looked at Claire. Really looked. Mrs. Ashford, you have defensive wounds on your arms, bruising consistent with being grabbed, pushed. Your injuries tell a different story than a fall. Voices in the hallway, raised, angry. Claire knew that voice, deep, controlled rage barely contained. Where is she? Where's my daughter? Dad. The door burst open. William Hutchinson filled the doorway. 62 years old, 6 feet tall, still strong. His face was white, eyes red. He looked at Claire and something broke in his expression. Oh, sweetheart. He crossed the room in 3 strides, gentle hands on her face. What did he do to you? Claire hadn't cried yet, not when the nurse looked away, not when Dr. Brennan said her baby was gone, but seeing her father's face. The way his hands trembled as he touched her bruised cheek, that broke something loose inside her. Daddy, she hadn't called him that since she was 12. The word tore out of her. She's gone. The baby's gone. Bill Hutchinson pulled his daughter close, careful of her injuries. Claire sobbed against his chest. He made no sound, just held her. But she felt his tears on her hair. Behind him, Eleanor Hutchinson stood in the doorway. Claire's mother, small, blonde going gray, 60 years old but looked younger until now. Now she looked ancient, broken. Our granddaughter, Eleanor whispered, our little girl. Detective Whitmore gave them a moment, then she spoke again, quiet but firm. Mr. and Mrs. Hutchinson, I need to speak with Claire about what happened. I understand this is difficult, but we have a very limited window here. Bill straightened, his face changed. Claire knew that look. 30 years as a federal prosecutor. He'd sent some of the worst criminals in the country to prison. That was his courtroom face. Cold, focused, dangerous. Where is Marcus Ashford? Bill's voice was steady, too steady. His lawyers arrived 30 minutes after Mrs. Ashford was brought in. Detective Whitmore's jaw tightened. His mother is giving a statement, claiming this was an accident, that they were arguing and Claire fell. An accident. Bill looked at Claire's bruised wrists, the finger-shaped marks on her arms. That's what he's claiming. We've taken photos, medical reports. Dr. Brennan documented everything. Detective Whitmore met Bill's eyes. But Mrs. Ashford needs to tell us what happened, in her own words. Claire looked at her father, then her mother, then the detective. She thought about Marcus, his lawyers, his money, his mother's voice. That baby might not even be yours. She thought about the stairs, being at the top, Marcus's hand on her back. Or was it her arm? She couldn't remember. It was all fragments. Glass breaking, her trying to leave, his voice, cold, calculated. You're not going anywhere. He pushed me. The words came out small, weak. I tried to leave. He wouldn't let me. He pushed me down the stairs. Dr. Brennan stood. We documented everything. The bruises tell a story, detective. Multiple points of impact. This wasn't a simple fall. Detective Whitmore wrote quickly. Did anyone else see this happen? His mother was there earlier. She left before. Claire tried to focus, remember the timeline. Our neighbor, Mrs. Chen, she must have heard. She always hears everything through the walls. We have a 911 call from a neighbor reporting screaming. Detective Whitmore flipped through her notes. That was at 11:47 last night. 11:47. Claire had no idea what time it was now. No idea how long she'd been unconscious. No idea that while she was sleeping, her daughter had died. I want to see her. Claire looked at Dr. Brennan. My baby, I need to see her. The doctor's face softened. Are you sure you're ready for that? She's my daughter. I need to see My daughter. Bill's hand tightened on Claire's shoulder. We'll be with you, whatever you need. Dr. Brennan nodded slowly. I'll make the arrangements. But Claire, there's something else you should know. Marcus Ashford is still here, in the hospital. His lawyers are demanding to see you. Absolutely not. Bill's voice was hard, final. She's not speaking to him. Not without legal representation. Not ever if I have my way. Dad. Claire looked up at him. He's going to say I'm lying, that I fell, that I'm crazy. He always says I'm crazy. You're not crazy. Bill's hands framed her face, made her look at him. You listen to me. You're not crazy. You're not lying, and he's not getting away with this. Eleanor moved closer, sat on the edge of the bed, took Claire's hand. We're going to take care of you. Whatever happens, whatever it takes, you're safe now. But Claire didn't feel safe. She felt hollow, empty, like the baby wasn't the only thing she'd lost. She'd lost something else, some part of herself that believed the world made sense, that love was enough, that trying harder would fix things. She looked down at her flat stomach, smoothed the hospital gown, bunched fabric, smooth again, bunch, smooth, over and over, wall movements, controllable, while everything else spun out of control. We documented everything, Brennan said again, quieter now, like he was making a promise. Whatever happens next, whatever his lawyers say, we have the evidence, the truth is in your injuries. But Claire had learned something in 3 years of marriage to Marcus Ashford. The truth didn't always matter. Money mattered, power mattered, and Marcus had both. She closed her eyes, tried to feel the baby kick. One more time, just once. But there was nothing, just emptiness. And the steady beep of the hospital monitor, and her father's hand on her shoulder, and the knowledge that her daughter was gone, and the man who killed her was somewhere in this same building, with his lawyers, and his mother, and his money, and his lies. My baby is gone. Claire said it out loud, made it real. My baby is gone and he's going to get away with it. No, Bill's voice was quiet, certain. He's not. But to understand how a 28-year-old woman ended up in that hospital bed, you need to know what happened 72 hours before, when she still had hope. Lying in that hospital bed, Claire let the memories wash over her, one by one, each one now tainted, poisoned, like looking at old photographs and seeing things you missed the first time. 72 hours before, Thursday morning, 6:30 in the morning, Claire woke to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window. Her hand went to her belly, 8 months pregnant. The baby kicked, strong, insistent. Good morning, little one, Claire whispered. Marcus was already up. She heard the shower running. She got out of bed slowly. Everything took longer now. Her back ached, her feet were swollen, but she was happy, so happy. In just 4 more weeks, she'd meet her daughter. Marcus came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, hair wet. He smiled when he saw her. How are my girls this morning? He kissed her forehead. Gentle, sweet. This was the Marcus the world saw. Charming, successful, 36 years old and already worth $50 million. Tech industry, started his company at 28, built an empire. Everyone loved him. Magazines put him on covers. Charities begged for his donations. We're good. She's been kicking it all morning. Claire took his hand, placed it on her belly. The baby kicked again, right under his palm. Marcus laughed. She's strong, like her mother. Like her mother, Claire held on to those words. Even now, in the hospital, she could hear them. The lie in them, the performance. But back then, 72 hours before, she believed it. She made breakfast, eggs, toast, orange juice. Marcus sat at the kitchen counter, scrolling through his phone. His face changed as he read, small shifts, the muscle in his jaw tightening, his fingers gripping the phone too hard. Everything okay? Claire set his plate in front of him. Fine. He didn't look up. Just business. His phone buzzed. Again. He answered, stepped out onto the balcony. Claire watched through the glass, his free hand gesturing, angry movements, sharp. When he came back in, his smile was tight. I have to go in early today. The Singapore deal is falling apart. I thought that was almost finalized. So did I. Marcus's voice had an edge now, sharp. Apparently our investors are getting cold feet. I'm sure you'll fix it, you always do. Claire meant it as encouragement, supportive wife. But something flickered in his eyes, something cold. Yes, I always fix things. He grabbed his jacket, briefcase, kissed her cheek, but his lips were hard, perfunctory. I'll be late tonight. He was often late. Business dinners, client meetings, networking events. Claire had learned not to ask too many questions, learned not to sound suspicious, learned not to sound like anything except understanding. She spent the day in the nursery, the room she'd been decorating for months. Yellow walls, white furniture, a mobile she'd made herself, little painted stars and moons. Her art degree finally useful for something. Claire ran her hand over the crib, still in pieces. Marcus had promised to put it together last weekend, then the weekend before that. But something always came up, some emergency, some meeting. It's okay, she told the baby. We'll get it done, we have time. But they didn't have time. They had 3 days. 3 days until everything shattered. Lying in the hospital bed, Claire remembered that afternoon, the peace of it, the sunlight, the hope, how stupid she'd been. Her phone rang, 60 hours before. Becca. Hey, how's my favorite pregnant person? Rebecca Morrison, best friend since college, social worker, saw the worst of humanity every day, but somehow still optimistic. Tired, huge, ready to not be pregnant anymore. Only 4 more weeks, then you get to be tired and huge and not sleeping ever again. Claire laughed. They talked for 20 minutes. About nothing, about everything, about baby names they'd already chosen, about nursery colors, about Claire's mother already buying too many clothes. How's Marcus handling the nesting instinct? Becca asked. He's stressed about work. The Singapore deal might fall through. A pause long enough that Claire noticed. How stressed? What do you mean? I mean, how is he treating you when he's stressed? Becca, not this again. Claire, I'm your friend. I'm allowed to ask. He's fine. We're fine. Claire said it firmly. End of discussion. I need to go. Mom's calling. She wasn't, but Becca knew things, saw things, asked questions Claire didn't want to answer. 48 hours before, Friday evening, Marcus came home at 9, late, but not unusual. Claire had saved him dinner, reheated it, set the table, tried to make everything nice. How was your day? She placed the plate in front of him. Terrible. The Singapore investors pulled out. 2 years of work down the drain. I'm so sorry. Maybe there's another way? Maybe if you understood business, you'd know there isn't another way. His voice was sharp, too sharp. He saw her face, softened immediately. Sorry, I'm just stressed. This isn't your fault. But the way he said it, like maybe it was her fault, like everything was always her fault somehow. They had dinner with his business partners that night. The Harrisons, the Chens, the Kowalskis, 3 couples, expensive restaurant, private room. Marcus turned on the charm, funny, engaging. Everyone loved him. Claire sat beside him, 8 months pregnant, uncomfortable, but smiling, playing her role. Perfect wife, supportive, quiet, there when needed, invisible otherwise. Vivian Ashford arrived late. Marcus's mother, 64 years old, elegant, cold. She air-kissed Claire's cheek, whispered in her ear, "You're so patient with him, dear." Not every woman could handle Marcus's moods. His moods, like they were weather, unpredictable, unavoidable, something to be handled. The dinner lasted 3 hours. Claire's back ached, the baby kicked. She needed to go to the bathroom constantly. But she smiled, laughed at the right moments, agreed with everything. In the car going home, Marcus was quiet, his hands tight on the steering wheel. You were very quiet tonight. His voice was neutral, too neutral. I didn't have much to add to the business discussion. You could have tried. The Harrisons asked about your art. You barely answered. I did answer. I said I wasn't painting much anymore. With the pregnancy, you said it like you were bored, like you didn't care. Claire's chest tightened. This, this was how it started. Some small thing, some imagined slight, building into something bigger. I wasn't bored, I was tired. I'm 8 months pregnant, Marcus. Everyone is always making allowances for you. Poor Claire, so tired, so pregnant, so delicate. I didn't ask for allowances. You don't have to ask. You just stand there looking miserable and everyone feels sorry for you. They drove in silence. Claire's hands on her belly. The baby kicked. She wanted to go home. Wanted this day to end. Wanted to rewind to that Thursday morning when everything still felt okay. At home, Marcus went to his study, poured a drink, then another. Claire went to bed, pretended to sleep when he finally came in. That specific stillness, shallow breathing, praying he wouldn't notice she was awake. He stood by the bed. She felt him watching. Her heart pounded, but he just turned and left, slept in the guest room. Or didn't sleep. She heard him moving around all night, 36 hours before. Saturday morning, Claire woke to an empty house. Marcus had left early. No note, no text. She spent the day cleaning. The specific panic cleaning women do when they feel things slipping out of control. She organized the kitchen cabins, alphabetized the spices, folded and refolded the towels, scrubbed the bathroom tiles on her hands and knees. 8 months pregnant, on her hands and knees, trying to create order from chaos. Her mother called, "Sweetheart, I'm worried about you." "I'm fine, Mom." "You don't sound fine, you sound exhausted." "I'm pregnant. I'm supposed to be exhausted." "That's not what I mean." But Claire couldn't talk about what Eleanor meant. Couldn't admit that the perfect marriage everyone envied was something else entirely. Something darker. Something that made her clean bathrooms at 8 months pregnant. Something that made her pretend to be asleep. Something that was building toward a moment she couldn't yet see, but somehow knew was coming. "I have to go. Marcus just got home." He hadn't, but it was easier to lie than to talk. Claire sat in the nursery that afternoon. The unassembled crib, the empty dresser, the mobile hanging crooked. She thought about calling her father, asking him to come put the crib together. But that felt like admitting defeat, like admitting Marcus wasn't going to do it, wasn't going to do any of it. "I thought I could love him through it," Claire whispered in the hospital bed, present tense bleeding into past. "I thought my love was enough. Every woman who's been here knows that lie we tell ourselves." 24 hours before, Saturday night, Marcus came home. But something was different, wrong. He wasn't drunk. That was the thing she kept coming back to. He wasn't drunk. He was stone cold sober, and that made what happened next so much worse. 24 hours before the hospital, Saturday evening, Claire heard the door, Marcus's footsteps, heavy, deliberate. She was in the kitchen, making tea, chamomile, trying to calm the anxiety that had been building all day. "Claire," his voice from the living room, flat, cold. She came out, hands wrapped around the mug. Marcus stood by the window, arms crossed. His mother sat on the couch. Vivian, in the apartment, at 7 o'clock on a Saturday. She never visited unannounced. "Your mother stopped by." Claire tried to sound pleasant, normal. "She has something to tell me about you." Marcus turned. His face was expressionless. That was worse than anger. Anger she could read. This was nothing. A mask. "I don't understand." Vivian stood, smoothed her skirt. "Marcus, darling, perhaps I should speak to you privately." "No, say it here, in front of her." Claire's hands shook. Tea sloshed over the rim. Burned her thumb. She'd barely felt it. "I'm just concerned," Vivian said carefully. "About the baby, about timing. Marcus mentioned you were 8 months along. But you two have only been married 2 years, and you dated for less than a year before that." "I'm 8 months pregnant. We conceived 10 months ago. We were married." Claire's voice shook. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything, dear. I'm simply saying that modern technology makes it easy to verify paternity. And given how quickly you got pregnant after the wedding, some people might wonder." "Some people? You mean you wonder?" Claire looked at Marcus. "You believe this? You think I cheated?" "I don't know what to believe." Marcus's voice was steady, too steady. "My mother raises a valid concern. You were very eager to get pregnant, almost immediately after the wedding. We discussed it. We both wanted children. You wanted children. I wanted to wait, but suddenly you were pregnant. Suddenly we had no choice. Claire felt the room tilt. This couldn't be happening. Are you serious right now? You think I trapped you? That this baby isn't yours? I think there are questions that need answering. The answer is, I've never been with anyone else. Not in the 3 years we've been together. Not ever. This baby is yours. Vivian made a small sound, disapproving. There's no need to get hysterical, dear. I'm not hysterical. I'm 8 months pregnant and being accused of cheating by my husband's mother in my own home. Our home, Marcus corrected. I bought this apartment before we met. Your name isn't on anything. The words hit like a slap. Claire set the mug down. Her hands were shaking too hard. Why are you doing this? I'm simply asking questions any reasonable person would ask, given the circumstances. What circumstances? Your eagerness to get pregnant, your lack of income, your complete dependence on me financially. It's a convenient arrangement for you, isn't it? I gave up my job because you asked me to. You said you wanted me home. You said you'd take care of everything. And I have, but that doesn't mean I don't have the right to ask questions about a child that might not be mine. Claire looked at Vivian. The woman's face was smooth, satisfied. This had been planned, orchestrated, but why? You need to leave, Claire said to her mother-in-law. Both of you need to leave me alone. She turned toward the bedroom. Marcus's hand on her arm, tight, bruising. We're not done talking. Yes, we are. I'm not doing this. I'm not defending myself against lies. Lies? You're calling my mother a liar? I'm calling this whole conversation insane. Let go of me. He did, but slowly, deliberately, his face still that terrible blank mask. Vivian gathered her purse. I'll leave you two to discuss this. Marcus, call me later. She left. The door clicked shut. Claire and Marcus stood in the living room, the air between them thick, dangerous. I can't believe you'd accuse me of this, Claire said quietly. After everything, after 3 years, you really think I'd cheat? I think you're very good at playing the victim, very good at making me feel guilty, very good at manipulating situations to your advantage. Manipulating? I'm pregnant with your child. So you say. Claire's hands went to her belly, protective, instinctive. The baby kicked, strong, insistent. We can do a paternity test after she's born. Prove this ridiculous. No, we do it now. Now I'm 8 months pregnant. The only test now is invasive, risky. If you have nothing to hide, you'll do it. Claire stared at him. This man she'd married, this man who'd told her he loved her, promised forever, promised safety. She didn't recognize him. No, she said, I'm not risking our daughter's health to prove something I shouldn't have to prove. You either trust me or you don't, and clearly you don't. She walked toward the bedroom again. Marcus followed, his footsteps heavy behind her. You're not walking away from me. I need space. I need to think. You need space. You need to think. It's always about what you need. Claire reached the bedroom door, turned. What do you want from me, Marcus? What do you want me to say? I want the truth. I've told you the truth. That baby is yours. She's your daughter. And you're standing here calling me a liar. Because my mother, your mother, hates me. She's hated me since we met. And you're listening to her instead of me. Marcus's jaw tightened, that muscle jumping. Don't talk about my mother. Why? Because she's the one person you actually listen to? The one person whose opinion actually matters? She's concerned. She's trying to protect me. From what? From your wife? From your daughter? Claire's voice broke. I thought we were building a family. We are. If that baby is mine, she is yours. God, Marcus. She has your nose already. I saw it on the ultrasound. She looks just like you. Ultrasounds can be wrong. Claire felt something crack inside, something that had been holding together for 3 years, through the controlling behavior, the isolation from friends, the constant criticism disguised as concern, the way he made her doubt her own perceptions, the way he turned everything around until she was always apologizing, always at fault, always trying to prove she was good enough, worthy enough, honest enough. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. I can't keep defending myself, keep proving myself, keep being not enough no matter what I do. What are you saying? I'm saying I need to leave, stay with my parents for a while, clear my head. You're not going anywhere. The words hung in the air. Dangerous. Final. That's not your decision, Claire said carefully. I can stay with my parents if I want. Can you? With what money? What car? What phone? Marcus's voice was still calm, steady. That made it worse. Everything you have, I gave you. Everything you use, I pay for. You want to leave? Fine. But you leave with nothing. The car is in my name. The car I bought, the insurance I pay for. Try using it without me and see what happens. Claire's chest felt tight, her heart pounding. This wasn't an argument anymore. This was something else, something darker. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to make you understand reality. You're not going to take my potential daughter and run home to your parents. You're not going to make me look like the bad guy. You're not going to destroy everything I've built. I'm not trying to destroy anything. I just need space. You need space. Fine. Take the guest room. I want to go to my parents' house. And I said no. Claire moved toward the closet, started pulling out clothes. A bag. She needed to pack, needed to get out. The walls were closing in. Marcus was blocking the door, not physically, just standing there. But the message was clear. What are you doing? He asked. Packing. I'm leaving. No, you're not. She pushed past him, or tried to. His hand caught her arm. Tight, so tight. Claire gasped. Let me go. We're not done talking. Yes, we are. Let me go, Marcus. You're hurting me. He looked at his hand on her arm, at the way his fingers dug into her skin. For a second, something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Then it was gone. You always do this, he said. Always make me the bad guy. I'm trying to have a conversation and you're playing the victim. I'm not playing anything. You're physically stopping me from leaving. That's not a conversation. He released her, stepped back, hands up, mock surrender. Fine, go. Run to mommy and daddy. Tell them what a terrible husband I am. See if they believe you. Claire grabbed her purse, her phone, keys. The baby kicked hard. Objecting to the stress, the adrenaline. Claire put her hand on her belly, whispered, "It's okay. We're okay." She headed for the door. Marcus followed, still talking. The words coming fast now, angry, accusing. You think you can just leave? Take my daughter? Make me pay child support while you live off me for the next 18 years? That's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Tell me. Explain it to me like I'm stupid. Claire opened the front door, the hallway, freedom, just a few more steps. Marcus grabbed her arm again, pulled her back. I asked you a question, and I don't owe you an answer. Not like this, not when you're acting like this. Acting like what? Concerned? Reasonable? Wanting answers? You're not being reasonable, you're being controlling, and I'm leaving. She pulled free, stumbled, the hallway tilted, or maybe she was dizzy. The stress, the baby. 8 months pregnant and fighting with her husband in the hallway at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. Claire's hands shook, the keys. She needed to get the keys into the lock, but they kept slipping, falling. She bent to pick them up, Marcus's voice above her. Look at you, can't even hold your keys steady. And you want to drive? You want to take care of a baby? Claire's vision blurred. Tears, anger, fear, all of it mixing together. She grabbed the keys, stood up too fast. The world spun. I need to sit down. Then sit down. I'm not stopping you. But he was, just by being there, just by existing in that space between her and the door, between her and safety. Claire went back inside, past Marcus, to the couch. She sat down, pressed her palms against her eyes, tried to breathe, tried to think. I kept saying, this isn't him. This isn't the man I married. But it was. This was always him. I just refused to see it. The memory collapsed into itself. Hospital bed, apartment, past, present, all bleeding together. Bill Hutchinson was 70 miles away when his phone rang. Saturday night, 10:30. Eleanor's name on the screen. But her voice was wrong, shaking, crying. Bill, something's wrong. I just talked to Claire, and she said everything was fine, but her voice. Bill, her voice was terrified. He was in his study, working on an article for a law journal. Retirement meant more time for writing, for golf, for the life they'd planned. But Eleanor's voice killed all that, made it irrelevant. What did she say exactly? I asked if she wanted to come for lunch tomorrow. She said no. She said Marcus needed her home. But Bill, she never says no to lunch. In the way she said his name, like she was reading from a script, like he was standing right there. Bill's hands tightened on the phone. Did you try calling back? Twice, she didn't answer. Then I got a text. Mom, I'm fine, just tired, talk tomorrow. But Claire doesn't text like that, no emojis. No extra words, just that flat sentence. I'm going over there. Should I come? No, stay here in case she calls you back. Bill grabbed his jacket, keys. The drive to the city took 45 minutes. He made it in 32. Broke every speed limit, hands gripping the wheel, mind racing through possibilities. All of them bad. He'd been a federal prosecutor for 30 years. Put away murderers, rapists, white-collar criminals who destroyed lives with spreadsheets and smiles. He knew what men were capable of, knew how they justified violence, rationalized control, made their victims believe they deserved it. And he'd watched his daughter marry Marcus Ashford 3 years ago. Watched her smile in that wedding dress. Watched Marcus promise to love her, cherish her, protect her. Bill had shaken the man's hand, given his blessing, walked Claire down the aisle and given her away. Given her away. The words felt like poison now. Like he'd handed his daughter to a predator and smiled while doing it. Bill parked outside the apartment building. Luxury high-rise, doorman, security. Marcus had money, success, reputation. All the things that made men bulletproof. All the things that made women invisible. The doorman recognized him. Mr. Hutchinson, late visit. I need to see my daughter. Of course, I'll ring up. No, don't. It's a surprise. The doorman hesitated. Protocol said call up, but something in Bill's face made him nod. Step aside, let him pass. Bill took the elevator to the 14th floor. The hallway was silent, expensive. Neutral carpet, tasteful lighting. The apartment door was at the end. He knocked, waited, knocked again. Movement inside, voices, low. Then the door opened. Marcus, dressed casually, jeans, t-shirt, barefoot, relaxed, smiling. Bill, what a surprise. Is everything all right? I'd like to see Claire. Of course, she's resting. Long day. You know how it is. 8 months pregnant. Marcus's smile was easy, natural. Come in, I'll get her. Bill stepped inside. The apartment was immaculate. No signs of conflict, no broken items, no evidence of anything wrong. But his instincts screamed. 30 years of reading crime scenes, reading people. This felt wrong. Actually, I'll just go back to the bedroom, see if she's awake. Marcus's smile tightened, just a fraction. She's sleeping. I'd hate to wake her. I'm her father. I think I can check on my own daughter. Bill moved toward the hallway. Marcus stepped in front of him, casual, blocking, still smiling. Bill, I appreciate your concern, but Claire is fine. She's just emotional lately. Hormones. You know how women get. Step aside, Marcus. The smile faded. This is my home. You can't just barge into my bedroom. Your bedroom? What about Claire's bedroom? Our bedroom, and she's sleeping. I'm not going to have you wake her up because Eleanor got worried over nothing. Bill's hands clenched. He wanted to push past, wanted to use the physical advantage of 30 years of working out, staying in shape, being bigger, stronger. But that would be assault, would give Marcus ammunition, would make Bill the aggressor. Call her out here then. Let me see her. Marcus sighed, pulled out his phone, texted. They waited. The silence stretched. Dangerous. Finally, movement from the back hallway. Claire appeared, and Bill's heart stopped. She was wearing sweatpants, an oversized shirt. Her hair was messy, face pale, eyes red. She looked exhausted, scared. When she saw Bill, something broke in her expression. Relief, terror, hope, all at once. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "Your mother was worried. I wanted to check on you." "I'm fine, just tired." But her voice was flat, rehearsed. The words of someone who'd been told what to say. "Claire, sweetheart, can we talk? Privately?" Marcus's hand went to the small of Claire's back. Possessive. "Bill, I think we've established she's fine. It's late. Maybe you should head home." "I'm talking to my daughter, not you. Your daughter who is married, who lives here, who has her own life that doesn't require your interference." Bill looked at Claire. Really looked. Saw the way she held herself. Tense. Ready to run. Or fight. Saw the way her eyes kept darting to Marcus. Checking his reaction. Calibrating her responses. "Claire, do you want me to stay?" A pause. Too long. Marcus's hand on her back. Pressure. Warning. "No, Dad, I'm okay. Really. Just pregnancy exhaustion. Mom worries too much." The words were right. The tone was wrong. Bill had cross-examined thousands of witnesses, knew when people were lying, knew when they were afraid. Claire was terrified. "All right, but I want you to call your mother tomorrow. Talk to her. Let her know you're okay." "I will, promise." Bill moved to the door. Marcus followed, making sure he left. Bill turned in the doorway. Met Marcus's eyes, saw something there, cold, calculating, satisfied. "If anything happens to my daughter, I will destroy you." Marcus's smile returned. "Nothing's going to happen to your daughter. She's safe here. With me." The door closed. Bill stood in the hallway, every instinct screaming. Go back. Break down the door. Take Claire out of there. But he couldn't. Not legally. Not without her asking for help. He went back to his car, called Eleanor. "She's alive, but something's wrong. Very wrong." What did Marcus say? "All the right things. All the things abusers say." Bill started the car. "She's scared, Eleanor. I saw it in her eyes." "What do we do?" "We wait. We watch. And the second she asks for help, we move." But they didn't get the chance to wait. 6 hours later, the call came. 911. Hospital. "Your daughter. Critical condition. Lost the baby." Bill made the drive in 28 minutes, Eleanor beside him, both silent, both knowing, both too late. The hospital was white, sterile. A nurse directed them to the ICU. Claire was still unconscious. Dr. Brennan met them outside her room. "Mr. and Mrs. Hutchinson, I'm Dr. Samuel Brennan. I treated your daughter when she came in." "How is she?" Eleanor's voice was barely a whisper. "Stable, but she suffered significant trauma, fractured ribs, severe head injury, internal bleeding. And the baby, we know." Bill's voice was hard, controlled. "What happened?" Dr. Brennan glanced at the detective standing nearby, Laura Whitmore. She stepped forward. Her neighbor called 911, reported screaming, sounds of a fight. When paramedics arrived, Claire was unconscious at the bottom of the stairs. Her husband claimed she fell during an argument. Claimed. Mr. Ashford's mother was with him when police arrived. She corroborates his story, says they were arguing and Claire became upset. Tried to leave, fell down the stairs. Her son tried to help her. Bill looked at the detective, read her face. "You don't believe that." "It doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what we can prove." "What about the bruises, the injuries?" "Consistent with a fall, also consistent with being pushed. But without a witness, without Claire's statement, without clear evidence of assault, it's his word against hers. And Mr. Ashford has already retained legal counsel." "Of course he has." Bill turned to the window, looked at his daughter through the glass. Broken, alone, fighting for her life while her husband walked free. "When can we talk to her?" "She's still unconscious. Could be hours, could be a day." Bill sat down, Eleanor beside him. They waited, Bill's mind already working. 30 years of prosecuting criminals, 30 years of building cases, 30 years of knowing exactly how the system worked. And how it failed. Marcus Ashford had money, lawyers, his mother as a witness, a clean record, reputation, success. All the things that made prosecution difficult, made conviction nearly impossible. But Bill Hutchinson had 30 years of connections, favors owed, knowledge of how to build a case that couldn't be broken. And now he had something else, something that made him more dangerous than any prosecutor. He had a reason: his daughter, his granddaughter, both destroyed by a man who would walk away clean if the system ran its normal course. Bill pulled out his phone, scrolled through contacts, found a name: James Kirkland, investigative journalist. They'd worked together on cases before. James didn't play by legal rules, didn't need warrants, didn't care about procedure. The text was simple: "I need your help, my daughter, urgent." The response came immediately: "Where and when?" Bill looked at Eleanor, at Claire through the window, at Detective Whitmore reviewing her notes. The system was already failing, already letting Marcus walk, already setting up the narrative. Tragic accident. Heated argument. Pregnant woman fell. Husband devastated. No charges filed. But Bill Hutchinson wasn't the system. Not anymore. He was a father, and fathers didn't play by the same rules. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner," he whispered. Eleanor took his hand, squeezed. "I'm sorry I shook his hand. I'm sorry I gave you away to him." Through the window, Claire stirred, her hand moving, reaching for her stomach, finding it flat, empty, even unconscious, she knew. The baby was gone. Bill stood, walked to the window, put his hand against the glass. "I'm going to make this right," he promised. "Whatever it takes, however long it takes, he's not getting away with this." Behind him, Eleanor whispered, "Our granddaughter is gone." "I know. What was her name? What were they going to name her?" Bill closed his eyes, remembered. Claire had told them last week, happy, glowing, excited. Emma. They were going to name her Emma Rose. "Emma," Eleanor repeated, testing the sound, giving the baby a name, an identity, making her real. "Our Emma." In the hospital bed, Claire's eyes opened. Claire woke for the second time to her father's face pressed against the window, his hand on the glass, his mouth moving. Words she couldn't hear. Behind him, her mother, both watching, both waiting. She tried to sit up, pain everywhere, her body one massive bruise. The monitor beeped faster. A nurse came in, checked her vitals, asked questions. Claire answered automatically. Yes, no, 7 out of 10, her daughter. Where was her daughter? The nurse's face, that look again. "I'm sorry, so sorry. She's gone." Claire already knew, had known since waking the first time. But hearing it again made it real. Solid, permanent. Bill and Eleanor were allowed in. They sat on either side of the bed, didn't speak, just held her hands. Let her cry, let her break. Let her be something other than strong or brave or okay. "Tell me what happened." Bill's voice was gentle. But underneath that prosecutor tone, gathering evidence, building a case, Claire told him. All of it. The 72 hours, Marcus's mother, the accusations, the fight, trying to leave, his hand on her arm, the stairs. "Did he push you?" Claire closed her eyes, tried to remember the top of the stairs, Marcus behind her, his voice in her ear, her foot slipping or being pushed. She couldn't separate the two, couldn't be sure. "I don't know. I remember being at the top. I remember trying to leave. I remember him saying I couldn't. Then I was falling." "It's okay." Bill squeezed her hand. "It's okay not to remember." But it wasn't okay, because without clear memory, without that certainty, Marcus's story became plausible. Argument, upset pregnant woman, tragic accident. Detective Whitmore came in, asked Claire to tell it again. Claire did, slowly, carefully, but she saw the detective's face, saw the doubt. Not doubt that it happened, doubt that it could be proven. "Mr. Ashford was released on bail this morning," Detective Whitmore said quietly. His lawyers filed immediately. Judge set bail at $50,000. $50,000? Bill's voice was sharp. "For killing his daughter?" "Technically, we can't prove he killed her. We can prove there was an argument. We can prove Mrs. Ashford fell, but proving he pushed her, that's harder." "What about the bruises, the pattern of injuries?" "Consistent with domestic violence, also consistent with a fall." His lawyers are arguing she had a history of anxiety, that she was emotionally unstable, that she fell while trying to leave during a fight. Claire felt something cold settle in her chest. A history of anxiety. I've never had anxiety. Mr. Ashford provided records from a therapist, Dr. Karen Whitfield. You've been seeing her for 8 months. That's Marcus's therapist. He made me go, said I needed help with my mood swings, with my jealousy. Detective Whitmore wrote this down. But her face said it all. He said, she said, his word against hers, and he had documentation, professional records, evidence. There's more, the detective continued. Your therapist's notes mention concerns about your emotional stability, your unfounded accusations against your husband, your difficulty accepting his success. Those aren't my words. That's what Marcus told her I felt. She never talked to me directly about this. She just wrote down what he said in couples sessions. Did you ever correct her notes, disagree with her assessment? Claire thought back. Sessions where Dr. Whitfield would say, Marcus is concerned about your jealousy. Claire would deny it, but weakly, afraid to contradict, afraid to make Marcus angry. The therapist would nod, make notes. Claire assumed she was noting the denial, but apparently she'd only noted the accusation. I tried, but I was always outnumbered. Marcus and the therapist, both telling me I was wrong about my own feelings. That's gaslighting, Eleanor said quietly. That's psychological abuse. Maybe, Detective Whitmore stood, but it's also documented evidence that Mrs. Ashford had emotional issues. That's what his lawyers will use. That's what the prosecution has to overcome. She left. Bill sat in silence. Claire watched his face, saw him thinking, processing, planning. What are they charging him with? Bill asked when the detective returned. Nothing yet. They're still investigating. Depending on what the DA decides, it could be anything from reckless endangerment to voluntary manslaughter. Manslaughter, not murder. Without proof of intent, murder is hard to prove. And with his mother as a witness saying it was an accident, even manslaughter is going to be difficult. Bill stood, walked to the window, his back to them. Claire knew that posture, knew what it meant. He was done playing by the rules. 2 days later, Claire was released from the hospital, still in pain, still broken, but physically stable. She moved into her parents' house, her childhood bedroom, posters still on the walls from high school, trophies from art competitions, a life that felt like someone else's. The media found out. Of course they did. Tech millionaire's pregnant wife's tragic fall. That was the headline, sympathetic to Marcus. Tragic accident, devastated husband, grief-stricken family. By day 3, the narrative shifted. Was it really an accident? Now there were questions, investigations, Detective Whitmore's carefully worded statements. We're looking into all possibilities. Marcus gave an interview, composed, devastated, perfect. It was a terrible accident, he told the camera. Claire and I were arguing. She was emotional, hormonal. She tried to leave and she fell. I tried to save her. I tried to save our baby, but I couldn't. He cried. On camera, perfect tears at perfect moments. The grieving father, the loving husband, the man devastated by loss. Social media erupted. Half believed him, grieved with him, sent thoughts and prayers. Half didn't, started digging, finding inconsistencies, creating hashtags. Mosham, Bama. Where's Claire? Wish justice for Emma. But hashtags didn't change facts. Marcus had lawyers, money, a witness, clean record, reputation, and Claire had injuries that could be explained away. Memories full of holes. A therapist's notes that painted her as unstable. This is how it works, Claire told Becca when her friend visited. This is how men like him get away with it. Money, lawyers, reputation, while women like me get picked apart in public. Becca sat on the bed, held Claire's hand. What can I do? Nothing. There's nothing anyone can do. But Becca didn't believe in nothing. She was a social worker, dealt with this daily, knew the system's failures, knew how women fell through cracks designed to let men through clean. There are organizations, lawyers who specialize in domestic violence cases. Let me make some calls. Patricia Hayes arrived 3 days later. 48 years old, sharp eyes, expensive suit, family law attorney with 20 years of experience and a reputation for not losing. Mrs. Ashford, I've reviewed your case. Patricia sat at the kitchen table, spread out papers, police reports, medical records, photos of Claire's injuries. I'm going to be very honest with you. This is going to be harder than it should be. How hard? Criminal prosecution? Maybe misdemeanor assault, maybe reckless endangerment. If we're lucky, prison time? Unlikely. Probation? Fine. Community service? That's the best case. Claire felt the words like physical blows. My daughter died, and he gets probation? I know. I'm sorry. But without clear evidence, he pushed you. Without witnesses, without prior police reports. It's your word against his, and he has resources you don't. What about civil court? That's our better option. Wrongful death suit, pain and suffering, medical expenses. We can go after his assets, make him pay financially. It won't bring your daughter back, but it might make him hurt. Claire looked at her father. He nodded. Do both, criminal and civil. Hit him from every angle. Patricia smiled, sharp, predatory. Now you're thinking like a lawyer. But criminal court moves slowly. Preliminary hearings, evidence review. Marcus's lawyers filed motion after motion. Delays, postponements, objections. The system grinding forward at glacial pace. Marcus walked free. Saw on the news at a charity gala 2 weeks later. Smiling, networking, hand on the shoulder of another woman. Young, beautiful, his date. Claire watched from her parents' couch, watched him laugh, watched him charm, watched him be Marcus Ashford, successful businessman. Not Marcus Ashford, man who killed his daughter. My baby died, Claire whispered. And he's at a charity gala. Eleanor turned off the TV, sat beside her daughter. No words, just presence, just love. That night, Bill met with James Kirkland. Coffee shop, late, private booth in the back. Tell me about Marcus Ashford, Bill said. James pulled out a folder. Notes, research. Born Marcus David Ashford, 36 years old, only child. Father died when he was 12. Mother, Vivian, raised him alone. Wealthy family, old money. He started his first company at 28, tech consulting, sold it for $30 million 5 years later. Started his current company 3 years ago, currently valued at $200 million. Personal life? Engaged once before Claire, broke it off suddenly. The woman moved to California 6 months later, took a settlement. There were rumors. What kind of rumors? The kind that get covered up with money and NDAs. I reached out to her lawyer. He wouldn't talk, but he didn't deny anything either. Bill leaned forward. Find her, find all of them. Anyone who dated him, worked with him, knew him. I want every secret, every lie, every moment he thought he got away with something. Bill, that's not legal. I'm not asking you to break laws. I'm asking you to be a journalist. Investigate, report, tell the truth. James smiled. Now you're speaking my language. They worked through the night, building a different case, not for court, for public opinion, for the truth, because Bill Hutchinson had learned something in 30 years of prosecution. The legal system didn't always deliver justice, but the truth always found a way out. It just needed someone willing to dig deep enough, work hard enough, care enough. And for his daughter, for his granddaughter, Bill would dig until he hit bedrock, would work until he couldn't stand, would care with every breath in his body. Marcus Ashford had money, power, reputation. But Bill Hutchinson had something more valuable. He had the truth, and enough rage to make sure everyone heard it. 4 weeks after the hospital, Claire sat in her parents' living room, staring at nothing. The world moved around her, days blurred. She couldn't remember eating, couldn't remember sleeping, just sitting, staring. The TV on, but unwatched. Bill was in his study. Eleanor brought him coffee at midnight, found him surrounded by papers, photos, timelines, red string connecting events, names, dates, a conspiracy board like something from a movie. You need to sleep, Eleanor said. I will, after. After what? Bill looked at his wife. 35 years of marriage. She knew every expression, every mood. Right now, she saw something she'd never seen before. Cold determination, almost frightening in its intensity, to make him pay. Eleanor set down the coffee, looked at the board, saw Marcus's face, multiple photos, different angles, then other faces, women, business people, lawyers. What is all this? Background: James found Marcus's ex-fiancée, Catherine Morrison, lives in San Diego now. He reached out through mutual friends. She agreed to talk, off the record. What did she say? Bill pulled out a notepad, read the notes James had sent. They dated 3 years, got engaged. 6 months later, she called it off, sudden. Everyone was shocked. 2 weeks after that, she signed an NDA, got a settlement, $50,000, moved across the country. White boy. James is still digging, but the lawyer who handled the NDA is the same one Marcus used when a business partner sued him for fraud 2 years ago. The case was settled, sealed records, another NDA. He has a pattern. Yes, and patterns can be proven. They can be exposed. Bill's phone rang. James, I found something else. Another woman, Melissa Grant. She worked for Marcus 5 years ago. Executive assistant. Filed an HR complaint. 3 weeks later, she was fired. Cited performance issues. She sued for wrongful termination. Case settled out of court. You'll never guess who her lawyer was. The same one. Bingo. I reached out. She won't talk on record, but off the record, she told me enough. Marcus was controlling, monitored her emails, her phone calls, got angry if she talked to other men in the office, made her stay late, alone, said if she wanted to advance her career, she needed to show dedication. Proof? Just her word, and a settlement that required her silence. But Bill, if I can find 2 women who took money to stay quiet, there might be more. Find them, all of them, every woman he paid off, every business partner he threatened, every person who knows what Marcus Ashford really is. Bill hung up, looked at the board, added Melissa's name, Catherine's. Lines connecting them to Marcus. A pattern emerging, not proof for court, but proof for something else. The next morning, Claire came into the study. First time in days she'd left her room willingly. She looked at the board, her father's work, the investigation he was building. What are you doing? Her voice was small, broken. Building a case. The police are building a case. The police are trying to get charges that will stick. I'm trying to get the truth. Bill turned to his daughter. Truth and justice aren't always the same thing. You taught me that. Claire moved closer, looked at the names. Who are these people? Women who knew Marcus before you. Women who tried to speak up. Women who were paid to stay silent. How many? So far 3, but I think there are more. Claire's hand went to her stomach. That automatic gesture, protective, but there was nothing there to protect anymore. She dropped her hand, looked at her father. Can you prove he's done this before? On in court, the NDAs are ironclad, but I can prove a pattern. I can show he uses money to silence women, uses power to control them, and I can make sure everyone knows it. That won't bring her back. No, but it might save the next woman. The next baby. Claire sat down, stared at Marcus's photo, the man she'd loved, married, trusted with her life, with her daughter's life. She barely recognized him now. Or maybe she finally recognized him clearly. I want to help. Claire, you need to focus on healing. I'll never heal. Not if he walks away from this. Not if he gets to pretend it was an accident, that I'm crazy, that our daughter didn't matter. Her voice was stronger now, clearer. I want to help. Tell me what to do. Bill looked at his daughter, saw something he hadn't seen in weeks. Fight, determination, the Claire he'd raised, the one who'd been buried under Marcus's control. Write it all down, every moment you remember, every time he made you doubt yourself, every time he cut you off from friends, family, made you feel small, wrong, crazy. Document it. For court? For truth. Truth first, justice second. Downstairs, the doorbell rang. Eleanor answered. Voices, then footsteps on the stairs. Becca appeared in the study doorway. "I found someone you need to meet," she said. Behind her, a woman, mid-40s, professional, but her eyes were kind, understanding. She'd been where Claire was. You could see it in the way she held herself. "This is Margaret Chen. She runs a support group for domestic violence survivors. I thought maybe—" "I don't need a support group." Claire's voice was automatic, defensive. "You don't need it," Margaret said quietly. "But maybe it could help, just to listen, to hear that you're not alone, that what you're feeling isn't wrong or weak or unusual, that's all. Just listening." Claire looked at her father, at Becca, at this stranger who somehow understood. "Okay, I'll listen." Margaret smiled. "The group meets tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, church basement on Maple Street. You don't have to talk. You don't even have to come back. Just try once." She left her card. Becca walked her out. Bill went back to his board. Claire stayed, looking at the names, the pattern, the truth that was slowly emerging from decades of silence. That night, Claire couldn't sleep. Not unusual. She hadn't really slept since the hospital. Just dozed, woke, stared at the ceiling, counted hours until dawn. At 2 in the morning, she got up, went to the bathroom, the shower. She turned it on, stood under the water fully clothed, sweatpants, t-shirt. The water ran cold. She didn't adjust it, just stood there, frozen. That specific trauma response, the body shutting down, unable to process, unable to move forward. Eleanor found her 20 minutes later, turned off the water, wrapped Claire in towels, didn't ask questions, didn't judge, just helped her daughter change, dry off, go back to bed. "Some days I wondered if dying would hurt less than this," Claire whispered. "I'm not proud of that thought, but I had it." Eleanor held her daughter, rocked her like a child. I know, baby, but you're still here. You're still fighting. That matters." "Does it? What if he wins? What if the truth doesn't matter?" "Then we make it matter. Your father, me, Becca, that lawyer Patricia, everyone who loves you. We make the truth matter." The next night, Claire went to the support group. Church basement, fluorescent lights, coffee in styrofoam cups, folding chairs in a circle, 10 women, different ages, races, backgrounds, but the same look in their eyes, survivors. Margaret led the meeting. Introductions, no last names, no details unless you wanted to share. Claire sat, listened. One woman talked about her husband's financial control, another about isolation from friends, another about the slow erosion of self-trust. Then a woman named Sarah spoke. "My ex-husband was wealthy, respected. Everyone loved him. When I tried to tell them what he was really like, no one believed me. They said I was bitter, jealous, trying to ruin him. The legal system failed me. He walked away clean. No charges. Kept custody of our kids. And I was the one who looked crazy." Claire's breath caught. This. Exactly this. "But here's what I learned," Sarah continued. "The legal system failing doesn't mean the truth is wrong. It just means the system is broken. And broken systems can be fixed or circumvented or exposed." After the meeting, Sarah approached Claire. "You're Bill Hutchinson's daughter. I saw you on the news. I'm so sorry about your baby." "Thank you. I want you to know something. My ex got away with it legally, but karma caught up. His new wife is smarter than I was. She documented everything, built a case. He's in jail now, not for what he did to me, but for what he did to her. Sometimes justice is delayed, but it still comes." Claire thought about this driving home. Justice delayed, but still coming. Maybe not in the timeline she wanted, maybe not in the way she expected, but coming nonetheless. At home, Bill had news. James had found 2 more women, both with stories, both with settlements, both willing to talk off the record. "That's 5 women, Bill said. 5 women he hurt, 5 women he paid to stay quiet, 5 women who are ready to speak if someone asked the right questions." "Will they testify?" "In court, no. NDAs prevent that. But to a journalist? For an expose? They can't stop that." Claire understood. Her father was building something bigger than a criminal case. He was building public pressure, truth in the sunlight, the kind of exposure that destroyed reputations, ended careers, made powerful men afraid. When? She asked. Soon. James is writing the article now. Once it publishes, everything changes. Marcus will fight back. Let him. Fighting means denying. Denying means lying. And every lie can be disproven. He's not prepared for this, Claire. He's prepared for legal battles, lawyers, procedures. He's not prepared for the truth to just come out all at once with names and dates and patterns he can't explain away. Claire went to her room, pulled out a notebook, started writing every moment, every word, every time Marcus made her feel small, wrong, crazy. The therapist visits, the isolation, the financial control, the slow dismantling of her sense of self. She wrote for hours, filled pages, cried, wrote more. By dawn, she had 50 pages. Her story, documented, true. She brought it to her father. Is this enough? Bill read, page after page, his face hardening. By the end, his hands shook with rage. This is more than enough. This is everything. He looked at his daughter. You're stronger than you know. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't feeling strong. It's doing what needs to be done anyway. 2 days later, James's article went live. The Marcus Ashford You Don't Know, a pattern of abuse, control, and silence. 5 women, 10,000 words. Dates, details, settlements, NDAs, a pattern spanning 15 years. The internet exploded. The article dropped at 6 in the morning. By noon, it had 500,000 views. By evening, 2 million. Every news outlet picked it up. Cable news, network shows, morning talk shows. Everyone wanted to discuss Marcus Ashford, the millionaire with secrets, the pattern of control, the women who'd been silenced. Claire watched from her parents' couch, saw Marcus's face everywhere, heard his name, saw commentators debate whether the article was fair, whether anonymous sources should be trusted, whether Marcus deserved the benefit of the doubt. But the tide was turning, slowly, then faster. Social media hashtags changed. #Believe Claire started trending. Then #Justice for Emma. Then #Ashford pattern. Women came forward, not the ones from the article. New women, women who'd worked with Marcus, dated his friends, seen his temper, his control, his mask slipping. 4 weeks post-incident, Claire went back to the support group. This time she spoke. My name is Claire. My husband beat me while I was 8 months pregnant. Our daughter died, and he's at charity galas dating again. The room was silent, listening, understanding without judgment. I kept thinking if I loved him better, if I was quieter, if I was perfect, he'd stop. But nothing was ever going to be enough because it wasn't about me at all. It was about his need to control. Heads nodded, recognition, validation. This was the truth they all knew, the truth the world was finally hearing. After the meeting, 3 women approached Claire, offered phone numbers, email addresses. If you need anything, if you need to talk, if you just need to know you're not alone. Claire took the numbers, felt something shift in connection, community, the opposite of everything Marcus had tried to create. Isolation, dependence, control. That week, Detective Whitmore called. Mrs. Ashford, we need to talk. New evidence has come to light. At the police station, the detective laid out files, photos, documents. After that article published, we started receiving tips. A lot of tips. People who worked with Marcus, knew him, saw things they didn't report at the time. What kind of things? His former business partner came forward, provided financial records, emails, evidence of fraud, intimidation, threats of violence against anyone who challenged him. The FBI is opening a federal investigation into his business practices. Claire stared at the documents. Pages of evidence, years of Marcus's crimes, not just against her, against everyone. What does this mean for my case? It means we have a pattern, multiple victims, documented behavior. It strengthens our position significantly. The DA is reconsidering charges, upgrading from reckless endangerment to voluntary manslaughter. How long? These things take time, but Claire, with this new evidence, with the public pressure, with the pattern we can now prove, He's not walking away clean. Claire left the police station, sat in her car, her hands on the steering wheel. She thought about starting the engine, driving. Where? Nowhere. Anywhere. Just moving. Her phone buzzed. Becca, did you see? See what? Check Twitter. Check news. It's everywhere. Claire opened her phone, saw headlines. Marcus Ashford under federal investigation. Former business partner alleges fraud, intimidation. Tech millionaire's empire crumbling. More women came forward, not about abuse, about business practices. Contracts signed under duress. Deals made through threats. A pattern of using power to destroy anyone who challenged him. Marcus's company stock dropped. 40% in one day. Board members resigned, investors pulled out. The empire he'd built was collapsing. Not from Claire's accusations, from the weight of his own actions. Finally exposed, finally mattering. That evening, the doorbell rang. Eleanor answered. Vivian Ashford stood on the porch. I need to speak with Claire. Eleanor's face hardened. You're not welcome here. Please, I know what you must think, but I need to talk to her. 5 minutes, that's all. Claire came to the door, saw her former mother-in-law, the woman who'd stood beside Marcus, who'd corroborated his lies, who'd called the baby not his. What do you want? Vivian's face was older, tired, broken. To apologize, to tell the truth. They sat in the living room. Bill insisted on staying, protective. Vivian didn't object. I knew he was like his father, Vivian said quietly. Marcus's father, David. He was like Marcus, controlling, violent when angry. I stayed with him for 15 years, made excuse, covered bruises, told myself it wasn't that bad. Why are you telling me this? Because when I saw you in that hospital, when I saw what Marcus did to you, to my granddaughter, I saw myself 30 years ago. I saw the lies I told, the life I enabled, and I couldn't do it anymore. You gave him an alibi. I know, I'm sorry, I was scared. He's my son, I wanted to protect him. But protecting him meant letting him hurt you, letting him kill your daughter, and I can't live with that. Vivian pulled out papers, documents. This is my original statement to police, what I really saw, what really happened. Marcus pushed you, I saw it. He was angry, out of control. You tried to leave and he pushed you. Then he panicked, called me, told me what to say. Claire stared at the papers, the truth. Finally. Why now? Because that article, those women. I realized Marcus has been doing this his whole life. I covered for him when he hurt his ex-fiancée, when he threatened employees, when he used our family money to settle lawsuits. I enabled him, made him believe he was untouchable. And now a baby is dead because I didn't stop him years ago. Your testimony could send him to prison. I know. He's your son. And she was my granddaughter. Vivian's voice broke. I never met her, never held her, but she was mine too. And she's gone because I chose to protect a monster instead of innocent people. Bill took the documents. I need to give these to Detective Whitmore. You understand what this means? You'll have to testify in court against your son. I understand. Vivian left. Claire sat in silence. Bill read the statement, detailed, specific, damning, everything they needed. This changes everything, Bill said, with her testimony, with the pattern evidence, with the federal investigation. He's not getting away with this. That night, Claire went to her room, opened her laptop for the first time in weeks. The cursor blinked. She thought about typing something, searching something, then did. Marcus Ashford abuse. Enter, delete, enter again. Pages of results, the article, comments, discussions, women sharing their own stories, not just about Marcus, about men like him. Patterns, warning signs, the moment they finally left. Claire read for hours, found community, found understanding, found the validation that what she'd experienced wasn't unique, wasn't her fault, wasn't something she caused or could have prevented. She went to her art supplies, hadn't touched them in months. Marcus had discouraged her painting, said it was a waste of time, that she should focus on being a wife, a mother, his. Claire pulled out a sketchbook. Charcoal. Her hands shook. The first lines were unsteady, weak, but she kept drawing a face, her daughter's face, imagined. The baby she'd never seen, never held, but loved completely. "Your apology doesn't bring back my daughter," Claire whispered to the empty room. "Practicing. But your testimony might save someone else's." The drawing took shape. Emma, the daughter who'd never breathe, never cry, never grow, but who would change everything anyway. Through her death, through the truth her death forced into light, through the reckoning that was finally coming. Claire finished the drawing, signed it, dated it, then started another. And another, drawing through the night, creating, healing, reclaiming the part of herself that Marcus had tried to erase. By morning, she had 10 drawings, 10 versions of Emma, the daughter she'd imagined, hoped for, lost, each one different, each one loved. Eleanor found her at dawn, surrounded by sketches, charcoal on her hands, tears on her face, but drawing, creating, surviving. "She would have been beautiful," Eleanor said softly. "She was beautiful, is beautiful, will always be beautiful." Claire looked at her mother. "I'm going to press charges again, for Emma, wrongful death civil suit. I want him to say her name, in court. I want everyone to know she existed, that she mattered." "Good, let's make sure he never forgets her." Patricia Hayes arrived that afternoon, reviewed Vivian's statement, read Bill's investigation notes, looked at the federal evidence, smiled. "Now we have a case. Now we have real ammunition. Time to take Marcus Ashford apart, piece by piece." The civil suit was filed the next day. Wrongful death, pain and suffering, loss of companionship. Every legal claim Patricia could make, asking for $50 million. Not because money mattered, but because hitting Marcus's wallet was the only way to make him feel anything. Marcus's lawyers responded immediately, denied everything, called Claire's claims unfounded, said the civil suit was a money grab from a bitter ex-wife. But the court of public opinion had already decided. Every news story, every social media post, every comment section, people believed Claire. People believed the 5 women from the article. People believed Vivian. People believed the pattern. Marcus Ashford's empire was crumbling, and everyone was watching, waiting, hoping for justice. Claire went back to the support group that week, shared her progress, the charges, the civil suit, Vivian's testimony, the drawings. After the meeting, Margaret pulled her aside. "Have you thought about speaking publicly, sharing your story?" "I don't know if I'm ready." "That's okay. But when you are, there are platforms, organizations, people who want to hear from survivors. Your voice matters, Claire. Your story matters." Claire thought about this driving home. Her voice, her story. For so long, Marcus had controlled the narrative. What people knew, what they believed, what they said about her. But that was changing. The narrative was shifting. And maybe it was time for Claire to speak. Not through lawyers, not through articles, but directly, her words, her truth. She pulled out her phone, typed a message to Patricia. "I want to do a press conference. Tell my side, all of it. Can we arrange that?" The response came quickly. "Yes, let's schedule it. Time to tell the world who Marcus Ashford really is." 6 weeks post-incident, Marcus Ashford appeared before the board of his company. Emergency meeting, called by investors, demanded by shareholders. The federal investigation had gone public. FBI agents at his office. Computers seized, files subpoenaed. The board voted. Unanimous, Marcus was removed as CEO effective immediately. His shares frozen, his voting rights suspended, his empire taken from him. He walked out of the boardroom, cameras waiting, reporters shouting questions. For the first time, Marcus had no charming answer, no perfect smile, just rage, barely contained. Claire watched the footage on the news, saw his face, the mask slipping. Everyone seeing the man she'd known in private, angry, entitled, dangerous. Patricia called. "The civil suit deposition is scheduled. 2 weeks, he'll have to answer questions. Under oath, we're going to make him face what he did. Those 2 weeks, Claire prepared, practiced answers, reviewed timeline, met with Patricia daily, going through the questions, the evidence, the strategy. This isn't about the criminal case anymore, Patricia explained. This is about dismantling him completely. His reputation, his finances, his future. When we're done, Marcus Ashford will wish he'd gone to prison. At least in prison, he'd keep some dignity. The deposition was held in Patricia's office. Conference room, long table, Marcus on one side, his lawyers surrounding him, Claire on the other, Patricia beside her, court reporter recording everything. Patricia started gentle. Background questions, when they met, when they married, when she got pregnant. Marcus answered smoothly, confidently. This was his territory, questions he could control. Then Patricia shifted. Mr. Ashford, how many women have you paid to sign non-disclosure agreements? Objection, relevance. His lawyer jumped in. It's relevant to establishing pattern of behavior. Your client claims Mrs. Ashford's accusations are isolated and false. I'm demonstrating they're neither. The lawyer looked at Marcus, whispered. Marcus's jaw tightened. 2, he said finally. 2 women signed NDAs. Business matters, not personal. Catherine Morrison, your ex-fiancée. Business matter? We had financial entanglements. The NDA protected both parties. Melissa Grant, your former executive assistant. Business matter? She sued for wrongful termination. We settled. The NDA was standard. And Sarah Whitmore, your colleague from graduate school. Business matter? Marcus's face changed. Surprise. I don't know who that is. Patricia slid a document across the table. This is a settlement agreement, dated 7 years ago, signed by you and Sarah Whitmore. $50,000, NDA included. You're saying you don't remember this? Marcus stared at the paper, trapped. That was a long time ago. I'd have to review my records. We have 5 women, Mr. Ashford, 5 different NDAs, 5 different settlements, all involving allegations of controlling behavior, emotional abuse, and in one case, physical assault. That's a pattern. Those women lied, wanted money. I settled to avoid litigation. That's good business, not admission of guilt. All 5 lied? Yes. And Mrs. Ashford is lying too. She's confused, traumatized. The fall, the head injury, she doesn't remember accurately. She remembers you pushing her down the stairs. That's not what happened. Your mother says otherwise. In her statement to police, Vivian Ashford confirms she witnessed you push Mrs. Ashford. Marcus's face went white. My mother is. She's elderly, confused. She's 64, a retired professor, sharp as ever, and willing to testify under oath that you pushed your pregnant wife down a flight of stairs. The deposition continued for 6 hours. Patricia asking question after question, Marcus's answers growing shorter, more defensive, more obviously lies. By the end, he was sweating. His lawyers kept objecting, kept calling for breaks, but Patricia was relentless. Every lie exposed, every contradiction highlighted, every piece of evidence laid out. When they finished, Marcus stormed out. No handshake, no professional courtesy, just rage. That went well, Patricia said. He's cracking. But Marcus wasn't done. That night, Claire's phone rang. Private number. She answered. Claire, Marcus's voice. Low, threatening. You need to drop this, all of it. The civil suit, the press, the lies you're telling. They're not lies. You're going to regret this. I have lawyers, resources. I will destroy you. You already destroyed me. You killed our daughter. That was an accident. You fell. I didn't fall. You pushed me. Your mother saw it. Everyone knows it. And you're going to prison. I'm not going anywhere. You are. Back to that sad little life you had before me. No money, no status, no future. I made you someone, and I can unmake you just as easily. Claire felt her hands shake. That old fear, the instinct to back down, apologize, make peace, but something was different now. She wasn't alone, wasn't isolated, Wasn't the woman who smoothed hospital blankets and pretended to be asleep. Try it, she said. Threaten me, harass me, violate the restraining order. Give the prosecutors more evidence. I dare you. She hung up, immediately called Detective Whitmore, reported the call. It was documented, another violation, another piece of the pattern. Patricia filed an emergency motion, restraining order violation. The judge agreed. Increased restrictions, no contact at all, direct or indirect. Any violation meant immediate arrest. Marcus's lawyer scrambled, claimed he was just trying to resolve things, just wanted to talk. The judge didn't buy it. Mr. Ashford, this is your warning. One more contact with Mrs. Ashford and you'll be held in contempt. Jail time, no bail. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. But the damage was done. The call was on record. The threat documented. More evidence of control, of inability to let go, of obsession with power. Meanwhile, James published follow-up articles. Marcus Ashford's Financial Crimes. How a tech millionaire built an empire on fraud. The Fall of Marcus Ashford. Each one meticulously researched, documented, sourced. Marcus's charitable donations were examined. All tax shelters, ways to hide income, avoid paying his share. His philanthropy was performance, reputation management, not genuine concern. His business partners came forward, one by one, stories of intimidation, threats, contracts signed under duress, deals made through blackmail. A pattern spanning his entire career. The federal investigation expanded, from fraud to racketeering, from civil violations to criminal charges. Marcus hired more lawyers, better lawyers, but even they couldn't stop what was coming. 8 weeks post-incident, the criminal charges were upgraded. Voluntary manslaughter, assault, battery, child endangerment. The DA finally had enough evidence, enough public pressure, enough witnesses. Marcus was arrested, again. This time no bail. The judge called him a flight risk, a danger to the community. Said the evidence was overwhelming. He was taken to jail, orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, perp walk for the cameras. The man who'd walked out of police stations smiling, who'd attended galas while his daughter's body was still being prepared for burial. Finally facing consequences. Claire watched the news, saw him led away, felt nothing, no satisfaction, no joy, just exhaustion, and a small, quiet sense of relief. He couldn't hurt anyone else, not today. Bill came to her room, sat on the bed. How do you feel? Empty, like I should feel something more, but I'm just tired. That's okay. You've been fighting for 2 months. You're allowed to be tired. Is it over? Not yet. Trial's still ahead. But Claire, we're winning. The truth is winning. Patricia visited that evening, brought news. Marcus's lawyers offered a settlement on the civil suit. $20 million in exchange for you signing an NDA, agreeing not to discuss the case publicly. No. I told them that's what you'd say, but I wanted you to hear the offer. I'm not signing an NDA. I'm not staying silent. That's what he wants. That's what he's always wanted. Women to take his money and disappear. Good. Then we go to trial. Both cases, criminal and civil, and we make sure the world knows exactly what Marcus Ashford did. 9 weeks post-incident, Claire held a press conference outside the courthouse. Patricia beside her, Bill and Eleanor behind her, cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions. Claire stepped to the microphone, read from a prepared statement. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady. My name is Claire Hutchinson. I was married to Marcus Ashford for 3 years. During that time, he isolated me from friends and family, controlled my finances, monitored my communications, made me doubt my own perceptions. And when I was 8 months pregnant with our daughter, he pushed me down a flight of stairs. My daughter, Emma Rose, died. She never took a breath, never opened her eyes, never had a chance at life. Her voice cracked. She paused, breathed, continued. This isn't about revenge. This is about accountability. This is about making sure no other woman endures what I endured. No other baby dies because a man thinks he's above consequences. Marcus Ashford is not a victim. He is not misunderstood. He is not being persecuted. He is a man who hurt multiple women over many years, who used his money and power to silence them, who believed he was untouchable. She looked directly at the cameras. To every woman watching who's been where I was, it's not your fault. You're not alone. And yes, they can be held accountable. It just takes longer than it should. But justice is possible. Truth matters. Your voice matters. Don't let anyone silence you. Questions erupted. Claire didn't answer. Just nodded, stepped back. Patricia handled the rest. That night, the press conference went viral. 5 million views in 12 hours. 10 million by morning. Women shared their own stories. Survivors came forward. Organizations offering support, resources, help. Claire's phone flooded with messages. Most supportive, some hateful. She turned off notifications. Let Patricia's office handle media requests. But one message got through from Sarah, from the support group. Thank you for speaking, for being brave, for showing us it's possible to fight back. You're changing lives. You're saving lives. Emma's legacy will be other children growing up safe. Claire read it 3 times. Let the words sink in. Emma's legacy. Her daughter hadn't lived, but because of her death, change was happening. Conversations were starting. Women were leaving dangerous relationships. Men were being held accountable. My daughter didn't survive, Claire whispered to the drawing on her wall, Emma's face. Imagined but loved. But because of her, other children will grow up without violence. That's her legacy. 10 weeks post-incident, the trial date was set, 3 months away. Time to prepare, gather witnesses, build the case that would finally bring justice. Marcus sat in jail, bail denied, awaiting trial, his empire dissolved, his reputation destroyed, his mother testifying against him, his future measured in prison years. Claire started sleeping through the night. Not well, but better. Started eating regular meals. Started drawing daily, creating, healing. Slowly, painfully, but healing nonetheless. I thought justice meant him suffering like I suffered, she told Margaret at support group. But real justice is him losing the power he had over me. And he has. I'm free, finally actually free. The road ahead was long. Trial, testimony, reliving trauma in front of strangers. But Claire was ready, had her father, her mother, her lawyer, her friends, her support group, her truth. And truth, she'd learned, was more powerful than money, than lawyers, than reputation. Truth was the one thing Marcus Ashford couldn't buy his way out of. The trial began on a cold Monday in December. 3 months since that night at the top of the stairs. 3 months since Emma died. 3 months of preparation, investigation. Building a case so strong even Marcus's expensive lawyers couldn't dismantle it. The courtroom was packed, media in the back rows, cameras outside. This wasn't just a trial anymore. It was a referendum on power, on privilege, on whether rich men could hurt women without consequences. Claire sat behind the prosecution table, Patricia beside her for the civil case that would follow. Bill and Eleanor in the row behind, Becca, Margaret from the support group, a row of women who'd survived their own Marcus Ashfords, all watching, all hoping. Marcus entered in a suit, expensive, perfectly tailored. Even in custody, he maintained appearances. His lawyers surrounded him, 5 of them, the best defense money could buy. The jury was selected, 7 women, 5 men, various ages, backgrounds, all claiming they could be impartial, all having seen the news coverage, all knowing Marcus Ashford's name. The prosecution began. Sarah Chang, assistant district attorney, 38 years old, known for prosecuting domestic violence cases, known for winning. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence will show that Marcus Ashford systematically abused his wife for 3 years, isolated her, controlled her, made her dependent on him. And when she tried to leave, when she tried to escape, he pushed her down a flight of stairs. She was 8 months pregnant. The fall killed their daughter, Emma Rose Ashford, never born, never breathed, dead because her father valued control over life. Marcus's face was stone, no reaction. His lawyers had coached him well. Show nothing, admit nothing, deny everything. The prosecution called witnesses. Dr. Brennan testified about Claire's injuries. Detailed, clinical, fractures consistent with being pushed, head trauma from impact, internal bleeding, the baby's death caused by placental abruption from the fall. In your medical opinion, doctor, could these injuries have occurred from a simple fall? Possible, but unlikely. The pattern of bruising on her arms, the defensive wounds, the specific nature of the fractures, these are more consistent with being forcibly pushed. Cross-examination tried to create doubt, tried to suggest Claire might have tripped, might have fallen due to pregnancy affecting balance. Dr. Brennan held firm. I've treated thousands of pregnant women. Falls happen, but this wasn't a fall. This was assault. And Detective Whitmore testified next. The 911 call from the neighbor, the screaming, the sounds of a fight, Marcus's statement that it was an accident, his mother's original statement corroborating his story. But then something changed, Detective Whitmore said. Vivian Ashford came to us weeks later, said she'd lied, said she'd witnessed her son push Claire, said she couldn't live with protecting him anymore. Marcus's lawyers objected. Hearsay. The judge allowed it. Vivian would testify herself. This was just foundation. The prosecution called Becca. She testified about Claire's isolation, how Marcus gradually cut her off from friends, made excuses for why she couldn't meet for coffee, for lunch, for anything. The last time I saw Claire, before the incident, she looked scared. When I asked if everything was okay, she said yes. But her eyes said no. Her whole body said no. And Marcus answered for her. Always. She couldn't even answer a simple question without him interjecting. The prosecution called Claire's therapist, Dr. Whitfield, the woman who documented Claire's supposed emotional instability. She was a hostile witness. Didn't want to be there, but subpoenaed, required. Dr. Whitfield, you treated Claire Ashford for 8 months. Can you describe your sessions? Mrs. Ashford came in with her husband. They were having marital issues, communication problems. She struggled with jealousy, trust issues. Did Mrs. Ashford exhibit signs of emotional instability? She was anxious, defensive, had difficulty accepting her husband's perspective. Did you ever consider that she might be experiencing domestic abuse? Dr. Whitfield hesitated. I documented some concerning behaviors from Mr. Ashford, control issues, but I felt the relationship dynamic was more complex than simple abuse. More complex than abuse. What does that mean? It means I thought they both contributed to the dysfunction. Did you ever meet with Mrs. Ashford alone? No, Mr. Ashford insisted on joint sessions. He said he wanted transparency. Did that strike you as unusual? In retrospect, yes. Most therapists recommend individual sessions for each spouse, but he was very persuasive about the benefits of working together. Cross-examination tried to salvage it, tried to emphasize Claire's documented anxiety, but the damage was done. Even her own therapist admitted Marcus controlled the narrative, controlled the sessions, controlled everything. Then Vivian took the stand. The courtroom went silent. Marcus's mother, 64 years old, elegant, composed, but something broken in her eyes. Mrs. Ashford, please tell the jury what you witnessed on the night of October 12th. Vivian's voice was steady, clear. I was at my son's apartment earlier that evening. I'd told him that Claire might be, that the baby might not be his. It was a lie. I knew it was a lie when I said it, but I wanted to test him, to see if he'd defend his wife. He didn't. He turned on her immediately. Why did you lie about the paternity? Because I wanted him to leave her. I didn't think Claire was good enough for my son. She came from a middle-class family, had no connections, no wealth. I thought she was using him. I was wrong, but I planted that seed anyway. What happened after you left? Claire called me, 2 hours later, crying, said Marcus was acting strange, asking about the baby, accusing her. I told her to call me if things got worse. 20 minutes later, my son called, said Claire had fallen, said there'd been an accident, asked me to come to back up his story. What story? That they'd been arguing, that Claire got upset and tried to leave, that she fell down the stairs. He told me to say I witnessed it, that it was an accident. Did you witness it? No, I wasn't there when she fell, but Marcus told me exactly what to say, and I said it. To police, to detectives. I lied to protect my son. Why are you telling the truth now? Vivian's composure cracked, tears on her face. Because a baby died, my granddaughter died, and I helped him get away with it. I enabled him his whole life. His father was abusive. I covered for him too. I raised my son to believe he was above consequences, above accountability. And now a child is dead because of the man I created, the lies I told. She looked at Marcus. He stared back, cold, expressionless. I'm sorry, Vivian whispered. Not to him, to Claire. I'm so sorry for what you lost, for what I took from you, for choosing him over the truth. Cross-examination tried to discredit her, tried to suggest she was mentally unstable, trying to hurt her son. Vivian held firm. I love my son, but love doesn't mean protecting him from his actions. It means holding him accountable, making him face what he's done. That's the only way he'll ever change, and it's the only way I can live with myself. The prosecution rested. The defense began. Marcus's lawyers tried everything, argued Claire had been unstable, that the pregnancy hormones made her irrational, that she'd threatened to leave multiple times, that Marcus was trying to calm her down when she fell. They called character witnesses. Business partners who testified Marcus was professional, charming, successful, friends who said he'd seemed devastated by the loss, that he'd loved Claire, wanted the baby, but cross-examination destroyed them. One by one, revealed financial ties to Marcus, favors owed, reasons to lie. By the end, the character witnesses seemed like paid actors, which essentially they were. Marcus's lawyers called him to testify. Risky, but necessary. The jury needed to hear from him directly. Marcus took the stand, confident but composed. His performance was flawless. Mr. Ashford, tell us what happened on the night of October 12th. Claire and I were arguing about the baby. My mother had suggested the baby might not be mine. I was upset, confused. I asked Claire about it and she became defensive, said I was accusing her, calling her a liar. I tried to calm her down. She said she was leaving, going to her parents. I asked her to stay, to talk it through. Did you push her? No, never. She tried to leave, headed for the door, then toward the bedroom. I followed, trying to convince her to stay. She was at the top of the stairs, turned to say something, lost her balance, fell. I tried to grab her, couldn't reach her in time. Why did you ask your mother to say she witnessed the fall? I was panicked, in shock. My wife was unconscious. My baby might be dead. I thought if my mother said she saw it was an accident, it would help Claire, would protect her from being blamed. Sarah Chang stood for cross-examination. This was the moment. The entire case balanced on how well she could dismantle Marcus's lies. Mr. Ashford, you testified you never pushed your wife. Is that correct? Yes. You also testified you tried to grab her to prevent the fall. Yes. Which hand did you use? Marcus hesitated, fraction of a second. My right hand. You're right-handed? Yes. When you tried to grab her, where were you standing? Behind her, to her left. Behind and to the left. But you used your right hand, the hand farthest from her. Why not your left hand, the one closest to her? I don't know. It happened so fast. So fast you don't remember which hand you used, but you clearly remember trying to grab her. I remember trying to stop her fall. How far away were you? I don't know, a few feet. A few feet. But you just said you tried to grab her. If you were several feet away, how could you reach her? I was moving toward her. Reaching. Sarah pulled out a diagram. The apartment layout, the staircase. Mr. Ashford, the stairs are here. The hallway is 4 feet wide. If you were behind Mrs. Ashford to her left, you'd be against the wall. Here, the distance from this position to Mrs. Ashford would be approximately 3 feet. With your arm extended, you could reach maybe 2.5 feet. Can you explain how you tried to grab someone you couldn't physically reach? Marcus's jaw tightened. I must have been closer than I remember. Closer so you don't remember the distance, don't remember which hand, but you clearly remember it was an accident, that you tried to stop her. Yes. Mr. Ashford, you testified your mother suggested the baby might not be yours. Did you believe her? I had questions. Did you accuse your wife of cheating? I asked for clarification. You didn't say, did you cheat? You said clarification. Let me rephrase. Did you tell your wife you thought the baby wasn't yours? I expressed concerns. Yes or no, did you tell Claire you thought she cheated on you? Yes. Did she deny it? Yes. Did you believe her? I wanted to. That's not what I asked. Did you believe her? No, not entirely. So you accused your pregnant wife of cheating. She denied it. You didn't believe her. How did that make you feel? Angry. Betrayed. Angry enough to push her downstairs? Objection, his lawyer stood. Leading, argumentative. Sustained, rephrased Ms. Chang. Mr. Ashford, you were angry. Your wife was trying to leave. You followed her, and she fell. Is that your testimony? Yes. You've testified you loved her, wanted the baby, but you also didn't believe the baby was yours. Which is it? Both. I loved her but had doubts. Doubts your mother planted. Doubts you acted on by confronting your pregnant wife. Doubts that led to an argument so severe your wife tried to leave. And then she fell. How convenient. It was an accident. An accident witnessed by no one except you. An accident that killed your baby. An accident that benefits you significantly. No child support. No custody battles. No proof the baby was or wasn't yours. Very convenient accident. Marcus's face showed the first crack. Anger. Real anger. Are you suggesting I wanted my baby dead? I'm suggesting you wanted control. And when you lost control, when your wife tried to leave, you pushed her. Your mother says you pushed her. The medical evidence says someone pushed her. The only person saying she fell is you. And you have every reason to lie. The cross-examination continued for 2 hours. Sarah dismantled every answer, every claim, every defense. By the end, Marcus was sweating, defensive, angry, the mask completely gone. The jury saw him, the real him, not the charming businessman, not the grieving father, the man who valued control over truth, power over life. Closing arguments. Sarah spoke directly to the jury. Marcus Ashford is a man who believes he's above consequences, who spent years hurting women and paying them to stay silent, who controlled his wife so completely she couldn't leave even when her life depended on it. And when she finally tried, when she chose her safety and her daughter's safety over his control, he pushed her down those stairs, not by accident, not in a moment of panic, but deliberately, consciously, to punish her for defying him. She pointed to Marcus. He's sitting there believing he'll walk away from this because he always has, because money and lawyers and charm have always been enough. But not today. Today, Emma Rose Ashford gets justice. Today, Claire Hutchinson gets vindication. Today, this jury tells Marcus Ashford that no one is above accountability. No one is above the law, and killing a baby has consequences, real consequences. The defense argued reasonable doubt, argued Claire's memory was unreliable, argued the evidence was circumstantial. But the jury had seen Marcus testify, had seen him contradict himself, had seen the mask slip. They deliberated for 6 hours. The verdict came at 4 in the afternoon. On the charge of voluntary manslaughter, we find the defendant guilty. Claire's breath caught. Guilty. The word she'd been waiting 3 months to hear. On the charge of assault, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of battery, we find the defendant guilty. Marcus's face went white. His lawyer started talking. Objecting. But it was over. Done. Finished. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge was a woman, 58 years old, known for tough sentences in domestic violence cases. Mr. Ashford, you took a life, an innocent life. You used your power, your control, your belief that you were above consequences to hurt the woman who trusted you, who loved you, who carried your child. The loss of Emma Rose Ashford is a tragedy, but the greater tragedy is that it was preventable. If you had let Claire leave, if you had valued her autonomy over your control, that baby would be alive. She looked at the paperwork, at the sentencing guidelines, at Marcus. I'm sentencing you to 12 years in prison. No parole for the first 8. This is not just about punishment. This is about protection. Protecting future partners, future victims, future children. You need to understand that actions have consequences, that lives matter, that you're not above the law. 12 years, Marcus stared. His lawyers filed immediate appeals, but he was taken away. Orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, led to a cell where charm and money didn't matter, where his name meant nothing, where he was just another inmate. Outside the courthouse, Claire spoke to the press. This isn't about revenge. This is about accountability. My daughter didn't survive, but because of her, other children will grow up without violence. That's her legacy. That's what I'll remember. Questions erupted. Claire ignored them, walked away, Patricia handling the rest. The civil suit settled a week later. Marcus agreed to pay $30 million, half his remaining assets. No NDA, no restrictions on Claire speaking, just money. And the acknowledgement that he was liable, responsible, guilty. Claire donated $10 million to domestic violence organizations. Used $5 million to establish the Emma Rose Foundation. Supporting survivors, providing legal aid, helping women escape. The rest went into a trust. Security, stability, freedom. 3 months post-trial. Marcus was in federal prison in Pennsylvania. The fraud charges had resulted in additional 5 years. Consecutive. Total sentence, minimum 17 years. He'd be 53 when released, if released. He had appeal after appeal pending, but losing every one. Claire heard about it from Patricia, felt nothing, no satisfaction, no joy, just acknowledgement. He was there. She was here, and that was enough. She'd started teaching art classes at a women's shelter downtown. Free lessons for mothers, for children, for anyone who needed a creative outlet, a way to process, to heal, to create beauty from pain. Her apartment was small, affordable, her own. No one's name on the lease but hers. No one controlling the thermostat, the decor, the life she lived. She drew daily, posted some pieces online, sold a few, not for money, for connection, for the comments from other survivors, for the messages saying, "Me too, I escaped too, thank you for showing it's possible." Bill and Eleanor visited weekly, dinners, conversations, healing. They never talked about Marcus unless Claire brought him up, which was rare. He was the past. This was the present. Moving forward, not back. Claire went to the support group every week, sometimes shared, sometimes just listened. Margaret had become a real friend. They got coffee, talked about life beyond survival, about hope, about future. "When did you stop being angry?" a new woman asked at group one night. Claire thought about it. "I didn't. I just started using my anger differently. It's fuel now, not poison. There's a difference." She thought about that answer later, about Emma, about the life that never was, about the future that could have been, but also about the women who'd left dangerous relationships because of Emma's story, about the children growing up safe because their mothers found courage, about the laws changing, the conversations starting, the world slowly, painfully shifting toward justice. "My daughter didn't survive," Claire whispered to the photo on her wall, the drawing she'd made, Emma's imagined face. "But because of her, other children will grow up without violence. That's her legacy." And somehow that was enough. 1 year later, December again, but different, everything different. Claire stood outside the state capitol building, snow falling, soft, gentle. She was dressed professionally, suit, heels, hair pulled back, looking like someone who had her life together, feeling like someone who was still figuring it out. Both could be true. Inside, the Judiciary Committee was meeting, discussing new legislation. Domestic violence protection laws, mandatory arrest policies, funding for shelters, education programs. The Emma Rose Act, named for a baby who never breathed, but whose death was changing laws, saving lives. Claire was scheduled to testify as a survivor, as an advocate, as someone who'd lived through the system's failures and come out the other side. Patricia walked beside her, still her lawyer, but also her friend now. The civil suit had finalized, the money transferred, Marcus's appeals rejected. He was in prison, would stay in prison, and life moved on. "You ready?" Patricia asked. "No, but I'll do it anyway." They entered the building, security, ID check, visitor passes, then the elevator to the third floor. Committee room, long table, microphones, cameras recording for public record. Claire sat, waited, listened to other testimony. Experts, social workers, police, all supporting the legislation, all explaining why it was necessary, overdue, life-saving. Then it was Claire's turn. "Please state your name for the record." "Claire Hutchinson." "Ms. Hutchinson, you're here to testify in support of the Emma Rose Act. Can you explain your interest in this legislation?" Claire looked at the committee members, 8 faces, various ages, backgrounds, political parties, all listening. "1 year ago, I was 8 months pregnant. My husband beat me, pushed me down a flight of stairs. Our daughter died. Emma Rose. She never took a breath, never opened her eyes, never had a chance at life. The current system failed me, failed her. It took 3 months to get criminal charges filed. 3 months while my husband walked free. Attended parties, dated again. The system allowed that because he had money, lawyers, a clean record, and I was just another woman with injuries that could be explained away." She paused, breathed, continued. "This legislation closes gaps, makes mandatory arrests and domestic violence calls, provides funding for evidence collection, for shelters, for legal aid. It gives prosecutors tools to hold abusers accountable, even when victims are too scared to testify. It's named for my daughter because her death exposed how broken the system is, and how many women and children fall through the cracks." Questions followed, about specifics, about implementation, about funding. Claire answered what she could, deferred to experts for the rest. But her testimony was the emotional center, the human face, the reason this mattered beyond statistics and procedures. The committee voted, unanimous support. The bill would go to the full legislature, then to the governor. It would pass. Everyone knew it would pass. Emma Rose's story had moved people, changed minds, created political will. Outside, reporters waited. Questions, cameras. Claire had gotten used to this. The attention, the platform. She used it carefully, deliberately, for advocacy, not fame. "How does it feel knowing your daughter's name will be on legislation?" "Bittersweet. I'd rather have my daughter. But since I can't, knowing her death means other children will be protected. Other mothers will have resources I didn't. That matters. That helps." More questions. Patricia stepped in, ended the interview. They walked to the car, snow still falling, beautiful, peaceful. A year ago, Claire had been in hell. Today, she was testifying before the state legislature, creating change, moving forward. The Emma Rose Foundation had grown. 3 staff members now. Patricia was on the board. Bill consulted on legal strategy. Eleanor volunteered. Becca referred clients. 200 women helped in the first year. Shelters funded. Legal fees paid. Custody battles supported. Lives saved. Claire taught art classes twice a week. Monday evenings at the women's shelter. Thursday afternoons at the community center. Kids mostly, some adults, all working through trauma, all finding ways to express what words couldn't capture. One Thursday, a little girl showed Claire her drawing. "This is my mom. She's brave." The girl was maybe 6. Big eyes, shy smile. Her mother had left an abusive relationship 2 months ago, was staying at the shelter, rebuilding. The girl drew her mother as a superhero. Cape, mask, strong. Claire looked at the drawing, at the girl. "She is brave, and so are you." "Were you ever scared?" the girl asked. Claire knelt down, eye level. "Every day, but I chose to be brave anyway. That's what brave people do." We're scared, but we do the hard thing anyway. The girl smiled, nodded, went back to coloring. Claire watched her, thought about Emma, about the daughter she'd never see draw, never hear laugh, never watch grow up. The loss was still there, would always be there, but it coexisted now with purpose, with meaning, with hope. That evening, Claire drove to the cemetery, visited Emma's grave, small headstone, simple. Emma Rose Ashford, forever loved, forever missed. She placed flowers, sat on the cold ground, talked to her daughter like she always did. You would have been walking now, saying mama, getting into everything. You'd have your father's eyes, my smile, grandma's stubbornness, grandpa's sense of justice. A pause, snow melting on her face, or tears, both. I'm okay, baby girl. I'm going to be okay. The foundation helped 200 women this year. The legislation will pass. Your name is making a difference. That doesn't fix what we lost, but it means something. It has to mean something. She stayed until dark, until the cold seeped through her coat, until she'd said everything she needed to say. Then drove home. Her apartment, small, cozy, full of her art, her books, her life, exactly as she wanted it. Inside, she made tea, sat by the window, watched snow fall, peaceful, quiet, the life she'd built from ashes. Not the life she'd planned, not the life she'd wanted, but hers nonetheless. Her phone buzzed. A text from Margaret. Coffee tomorrow? There's someone I want you to meet, another survivor, looking for guidance. Claire smiled, typed back. Yes, 10 a.m., the cafe on 5th? Perfect, thank you. You're making such a difference. Making a difference. Claire thought about that, about the girl in art class, about the 200 women, about the legislation, about the future that was slowly becoming reality. Her sketchbook was open on the table, a new drawing. Not Emma this time, a woman, standing, strong, not broken, not defeated, surviving, thriving, reclaiming. Claire picked up her charcoal, added details, shading, light and shadow, the complexity of survival, the beauty and resilience, the art of moving forward. She worked late into the night, creating, processing, healing. 1 year ago, she'd been in a hospital bed, empty, broken, believing justice was impossible, believing she'd never recover, believing Marcus Ashford would walk away clean. She'd been wrong. Justice came. Slower than it should have, harder than it should have, but it came. Marcus was in prison, would stay in prison, and she was here, free, building a life that mattered, creating change that saved lives. The hardest thing I ever did was walk away from the life I thought I wanted, Claire said aloud. To Emma, to herself, to anyone listening. The bravest thing I ever did was build a new one from the ashes. And the most important thing I learned is that my worth was never defined by his love, his violence, or his absence. I was always whole. I just forgot. She finished the drawing, signed it, dated it, then started another. This time a mother and daughter, holding hands, walking forward, toward light, toward hope, toward a future where violence wasn't inevitable, where control wasn't love, where women and children were safe. The next morning, Claire met Margaret and the new woman at the cafe, Sarah, 26 years old, recently left her boyfriend, scared, uncertain, familiar. I don't know if I can do this, Sarah said quietly. Go to court, testify, face him. Claire took her hand. You can. I know because I did, and I was terrified. But you're stronger than you think, and you're not alone. That's the most important thing. You're not alone anymore. They talked for 2 hours about Sarah's situation, about resources, about the foundation, about hope. By the end, Sarah was crying, but smiling too, relieved, supported, believed. Thank you, Sarah said, for surviving, for speaking up, for making this easier for the rest of us. Claire thought about that, about how her pain had purpose, about how Emma's death had meaning, about how the worst thing that ever happened to her had somehow become the catalyst for the best work she'd ever do. You're welcome, and Sarah, you're going to be okay. It doesn't feel like it now, but you will be, I promise. That afternoon, Claire taught art class. The little girl from Thursday was back. Drew another picture. This time Claire, as a superhero, cape, mask, strong. "This is you," the girl said. "You're brave too." Claire looked at the drawing, at herself through a child's eyes, a survivor, a fighter, a woman who'd lost everything and built something new, something better, something meaningful. "Thank you," Claire whispered. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever given me." Evening came. Claire returned home. Cooked dinner, simple, pasta, vegetables, wine, ate at her small table, her own dishes, her own food, her own choices. After dinner, she opened her laptop, emails from the foundation, updates on cases, success stories, women who'd left, children who were safe, lives that were different because Emma had died. One email stood out, from Catherine, Marcus's ex-fiancée, the first woman to speak to James. "Claire, I wanted you to know I'm engaged to someone kind, someone who respects me, someone who makes me feel safe. I never thought I'd trust anyone again after Marcus. But your courage gave me courage. Your survival showed me survival was possible. Thank you for fighting, for winning, for proving abusers don't always win." Claire read it 3 times. Let the words sink in. Catherine was engaged, happy, moving forward, because Claire had fought, had exposed Marcus, had made sure his pattern ended. That night, Claire stood at her window, looked at the city lights, thought about the year that had passed, the year ahead, the life she was building, the legacy she was creating, not for herself, for Emma, for every woman who'd been where she was, for every child who deserved safety. Her final thought before sleep was simple, true, hard-won. "I didn't get the life I planned. I didn't get the daughter I carried, but I got a chance to make sure fewer women live through what I did, and somehow that's enough." She climbed into bed, her room, her life, closed her eyes, dreamed of Emma, walking, laughing, growing up in a world her death had helped change, a world where justice was possible, where truth mattered, where love didn't hurt. And in that dream, Emma smiled, said the word Claire would never hear in real life, but carried in her heart forever. "Mama." Claire slept through the night, peaceful, whole, survived. If you're listening to this and you're scared, if you're making excuses for someone who hurts you, if you think it's your fault, I'm telling you what I wish someone had told me. It's not. It won't get better, and you deserve to be safe. Call someone, leave when you can, survive first. Everything else can wait. Your life matters. Your children matter. Your future matters. And yes, justice is possible. It takes longer than it should. It's harder than it should be. But it's possible. Don't give up. Don't stay silent. Don't accept that this is just how it is. Fight, speak, survive. Emma Rose Ashford never took a breath, but her legacy is breathing for her. 200 women, 2,000 children, laws changing, lives saved, hope restored. That's what matters. That's what endures. That's what makes the unbearable bearable. Love shouldn't hurt. Control isn't care, and you deserve better than surviving. You deserve to thrive. This is Claire Hutchinson, Emma's mother, a survivor, an advocate, a woman who lost everything and found something worth fighting for. And I'm telling you, you can too. 1 year later, Claire stood in front of the state legislature. The Emma Rose Act passed unanimously. 200 women found safety through her foundation. And Marcus Ashford sits in a prison cell with 17 years ahead of him. If this story moved you, do 3 things. First, like this video. It tells us these stories matter. Second, share it. You never know who needs to hear that escape is possible, that justice exists, that they're not alone. And third, subscribe, because every week we bring you stories of survival, courage, and hope. To anyone listening who's living this nightmare right now, you're not crazy, you're not weak. And yes, there is a way out. The resources are in the description below. Use them. Call someone. Leave when you can. Emma Rose never took a breath, but her legacy is breathing for thousands. Your story can too. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, and remember, the truth always wins, It just takes people brave enough to tell it. Until next time.